an
I
alternate.
have.
And we are live, one.
We're live.
We're
Okay.
All right, good evening, thank you so much for coming and being so amiable to our settings here tonight. Nice and cozy in here. But I would like to call to order the October 28th, 2024 Menomonee Falls Board of Education meeting to order. Will you please rise for the pledge of allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Moshe, was the meeting properly posted?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. This is a school district of Menomonee Falls Board of Education meeting. It is being held at the Village Hall Conference Room 3344 at W156-8480 Kilwood Road, Menomonee Falls 53051. A live broadcast is streamed on our school district website. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education. Ms. Moshe, could you please do roll call attendance?
Yes, I can. Board Member Grant? Here. Board Member Stulin? Here. President Christensen?
Here.
Board Member Holzman?
Here.
Board Member Wren?
Here.
Board Member Wappert?
Here.
Board Member Linger?
Here.
Second.
Thank you, and I need a motion to approve today's meeting agenda.
A motion?
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Travis was louder.
Travis has it.
Travis and Lana.
Travis has it. All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, are there any public comment forms to be turned in at all?
We do not have any forms.
Thank you. All right, we will start into our finest, which is a very exciting agenda item to highlight our very special students in the school district. And I'm gonna let Superintendent Munoz start.
Yep, I'm gonna go.
Student board members? No.
We're gonna go ahead and start. I was briefly introduced to everybody here out in the hallway, but we'll start kind of in order on your agenda. And I am gonna be referencing in your packets, you'll note there's some information about childhood cancer, a teen toy drive, and then also a blood drive. Okay, so I'll be referencing those as we walk through each one of our students' finest presentations. First student is sitting up here in yellow. I have a yellow tie as well. I did that intentional because I knew about this celebration. So there was a toy drive. This is Jillian Olson and her parents. Jillian was, she's a childhood cancer survivor. And for childhood cancer, awesome. So the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in September, North Middle School student Jillian Olson organized a toy drive for Children's Hospital Pediatric Oncology Department. And as a pediatric cancer survivor herself, she wanted to give back to the hospital and provide some joy for the kids staying at the hospital. And on a personal note, that's just amazing. It's something that to close out the month, North Middle School wore gold and yellow on September 30th for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So it's just it's a great thing at a young age. And so we have a plaque for you. I know you have some things you're gonna wanna say there. We could do the presentation of a plaque for you really quick, if you'd like.
Plaque?
Yeah. I know. So this says, in grateful recognition of your toy drive for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, October of 2024, School District of Menomonee Falls, finest award presentation for Jillian Anderson. Here, why don't you hold that? That's yours. And smile for the camera over there. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you're also, everybody's receiving a gift as well. You can use that in the school store at the high school. You can use that in
We'd like
the,
to hear from you too, Jillian.
go right
Oh,
ahead.
absolutely.
Hi, my name is Julian Olson. Thank you for choosing me to be a Falls finest. I am super happy to receive this honor. When I was 4 years old, I was diagnosed with stage 4 high-risk neuroblastoma, which is a solid tumor cancer in the nerve cells. The cancer was in almost all my bones and in 75% of my bone marrow. It hurt to walk and even play. I received 5 initial rounds of chemotherapy, 2 stem cell transplants, 25 rounds of radiation, and 7 initial rounds of immunotherapy. After that, I still had disease. So I had 3 more rounds of chemotherapy and 5 more rounds of chemotherapy plus immunotherapy. Finally, I also had a year of clinical trial vaccine in New York City. I have been disease-free for almost 6 years. I have to pedal the toy drive to help with kids who are in the hospital. Toys help with kids during long hospital stays or during painful things like dressing changes. I still remember how getting a new toy always brightened my day. I collect toys for the entire month of September, which is Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. This year, my school, North Middle School, really helped me with my toy drive. We doubled the amount of toys we donated to Children's Hospital Oncology Department. In the future, I hope that all Menomonee Falls School will collect toys with me so we can help even more kids. All my schools have also had a Go Gold Day where everyone wears gold to raise awareness. I hope that all the schools will do that too. And maybe wear gold wristbands at a high school football game. Thank you.
Well done, young lady.
You are absolutely amazing and you represent the North Star.
Thank you.
Very shiny.
Yes, great.
Can we ask a couple of questions? Okay. How long have you been doing the toy drive for?
4 years.
That's amazing. How many toys have you collected? Almost.
A lot.
We filled 2 trucks this,
Wow.
2 pickup trucks, so.
That's amazing. Any board members would like to say?
I mean, I can imagine just the joy you bring to other kids. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Your personality is amazing. Oh my goodness.
All right, we're gonna move on to our second student who's with us today. She asked me to call her Maddie, which I will happily do. This is the second flyer that you have in front of you, school board members, that references Maddie Belfos. Thank you. So, and you'll see on the flyer, it says, "My name is Maddie." I guess I should have looked at that more closely. In May of 2023, she was diagnosed with leukemia, and throughout her time at Children, she's built some amazing relationships with staff and fellow patients. And for her 15th birthday, she'd like to give back to the hospital that has given them so much. So while our first finest presentation, her toy drive is over, there is a current toy drive with a QR code listed here. It is also on our website, so feel free to go to Mighty Madster's Teen Toy Drive to benefit children's in Wisconsin. So a couple of things that were said about Maddie by her teacher and staff members who put her up for the finest presentations is you don't have to interact with Maddie long to get a sense of her bright, strong, and playful spirit, as well as the dedicated student she is. She's the type of student that makes an educator happy to call home and to say thank you to her parents, who are in the room, I believe. So thank you, Dad's right over here. So thank you. She consistently shows respect to her peers as well as staff and is always ready to jump in. Toward the end, the high school is incredibly lucky to have her, says her teacher, as she's moved on to the high school. Additionally, Maddie organized a teen toy drive, which I already referenced, for Children's Hospital Oncology, where she was treated for leukemia. So this toy drive is from October 4th through December 4th. So it actually runs right through that Thanksgiving period of time, which is great. So I'm gonna go out and give, and I hope others do too. So that's a great piece. So congratulations on receiving the finest award from the School District of Menomonee Falls. Perfect. All right, and I know you have a few things that you'd like to say as well, correct?
Hello, my name is Maddie Bilefus. I'm a freshman at Menomonee Falls High School. First of all, I would like to thank Ms. O'Keefe for nominating me for this award. I always knew I was a good student. I mean, I have good grades and I've tried my best to be helpful in any way that I could, but this came as a shock to me. The past 2 years of my life haven't been what you would call normal. In May of 2023, I was diagnosed with leukemia. Since then, I've had to work extra hard to keep up with schoolwork, but with that, I believe I've also grown as a human being. My 8th grade year, I was in and out of school for months, which was extremely hard on me because I always felt so behind in every one of my classes. Fortunately enough, I was able to get homeschool teacher, my old 7th grade science teacher, so I could focus more on getting healthy and less on making up for missing work. When I came back to school full time, I was greeted with smiles and hugs, which made me feel loved and cared for, which was the way I felt that all new students or teachers should feel when being welcomed into the Menomonee Falls School District. The district has been so helpful and accommodating, making the school side of these years way less stressful for me and my family. I would also like to proudly say that I am now 17 months cancer-free, and I'm the final And for my 15th birthday, I'm running a teen toy drive that will benefit Children's Oncology Unit, a place that has given me so much. Thank you again, Ms. O'Keefe, and the entire Menomonee Falls School District.
Well done, great job.
Maddie, were you able to see Ms. O'Keefe's nomination?
I briefly did.
Well, I want to read a paragraph that stood out to me the most, that she had written for you. She had said, "A couple weeks later, I was subbing in a different class at first. This is when she opened up to me about her battle with leukemia. It truly touched me to witness a young person display such positivity, grace, strength, and resilience in the face of such a battle. I was already deeply impressed by her character, even more so after knowing what she faces daily." I wanted to tell you.
Let's find her tomorrow.
Thank you once again. It's truly an honor to have great students in our district. This is the perfect example of why we're great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure your parents are very proud.
And we have two more students to recognize that are here today. And it's actually the third flyer that's in your packet, school board members. And in having a brief conversation with both Alexis and Chloe, who are here, who will be awarded both the finest awards, is they're in our healthcare academy at the high school. But, yep, Dr. Christensen, they're in the healthcare academy at the high school, but they took things a little bit further, saying, you know, we do blood drives at the school, but what about during the holidays when there always seems to be a high level of need? So they're having it's listed here, I'm just reading right off of the flyer. It says Chloe and Alexis Holiday Blood Drive. And they're actually working through a very, an Versatile Blood Center, which is a reputable organization. I've used them many a times. So that's available during the holidays. After everybody's out, they're gonna be doing a blood drive. Saving people's lives and doing that sort of thing on their own time. And I think that's amazing. Just like the rest of our finest, I think it's amazing. So Alexis and Chloe, there you go. And we'll do the picture, and Alexis, why don't you look at Mr. Halverson right over there. There you go, okay. And do you have any, if you'd like to say anything, by all means.
Thank you for the award. So we started this with our healthcare teacher, Ms. Tarson, giving us the opportunity to run a blood drive with one of the adversity people who worked there. So we both jumped on the opportunity, and now we're running our blood drive.
Yeah, we set up a meeting with Dawn, so we went through like all of the different ways that we would advertise it. The flyer is one of them. The blood drive, as it says, is December 28th at Good Shepherd. It would really help out if you guys could like spread the word. If eligible, please come donate. It's always needed. It's very helpful.
What fields do you both plan to study?
I plan to study something in pediatric oncology, actually.
I plan to go into physical therapy for,
Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
And I think we're gonna move into the rest of the meeting, so Phil, you can stay for the meeting, you're more than welcome. They're gonna go into health insurance and all these other things, so you can stay, but have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So save your flyers for the toy drive and the blood drive. Those are still going up. Toy drive and blood drive.
It's wonderful to know that we offer these finest awards and thank you to really, really nice.
Well, to continue our excitement, we actually have our two student board members today. Miss Emma Fields and Miss Kate Adamich.
Yeah.
So, I'm just gonna give you each an opportunity to say a little something about yourself and then you can go into your report.
I can go first. I'm Emma Fields. I'm a senior at Menomonee Falls High School, and I was recommended to be a student school board member. And I figured I would jump on the opportunity because I like being involved with my community, speaking up, just helping out as I can.
I'm Kate Adamovich. I'm also a senior at Menomonee Falls High School. Once the opportunity of being a student school board member came up, I really want to be part of it, not only just for our community, but for myself, knowing that I was part of it.
Alright, did you wanna say your report or we can give you the honors today to start first?
Yeah, I can go first. So we did athletics and activities. So I have a report on some fall sports for athletics, and then she has a report on activities. So I can go first. Yeah, I think you all have it should be in front of you. It just says school board meeting athletics. So I talked to Mr. D'Amato, the athletic director at our school, and then I also talked to some of the athletes at the high school on these teams and just kind of gathered what I could for the sports that have kind of a lot of relevance right now. So I'm just gonna kind of go through, basically just reading off, but yeah. So first, the girls varsity volleyball team, they played against Fond du Lac in the regional final, I think that was this Saturday, and they won that. So now they advanced to play West Bend West next Thursday at Manitowoc Lincoln High School, so we're hoping that goes well. For boys varsity soccer, they won their first playoff game against Oshkosh West. They went on to the regional finals after that, but unfortunately they did lose to Arrowhead, so that concluded their season. Boys varsity volleyball, they had playoffs on Friday against Brookfield Central. They lost that as well, which concluded their season. Varsity football played their last game against Brookfield Central for the homecoming game on the 17th. They unfortunately did not win any games this year, but the coach wanted me to tell you that they have many players returning, and they're excited for that, hoping that next year goes well. For girls varsity golf, 3 members of the team, Delaney Dwyer, Mae Nemick, and Haley Burchett, went to sectionals on October 8th. I'm not sure that any of them qualified, but I do know that Maeve got a personal record. She shot a 78, so that's good for her. Girls cross country, they had sectionals, I believe. Macy Borlo qualified for state. She got 7th place. And she runs this Saturday in Wisconsin Rapids.
Oh, there you go.
Flipping to the back, we have boys cross country. They had multiple boys that ran at sectionals. I did not get all of their names, but I do know, I think the highest placement they had was Wyatt Deuce, and he came in 19th place for Division 1. And then lastly, girls swim and dive. JV had a conference on Friday at Wauwatosa East, and they won that, which makes them 4-time conference champions, so that's really good. And then varsity, they have conference on Saturday at Brookfield East High School, so we're hoping they do well there too. That's athletics.
Hey.
I will tell you that golf did not advance to sectionals, sadly, even though they played lights out.
Oh.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I don't think I shot a 78 cover. That doesn't mean anything. No. Bad golf That's awesome. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, good. I did my report this week on activities. So before school even started this fall, we had a group of students who were part of Link Crew, which spent 3 days over the summer learning different activities to help our incoming freshmen on the first day of school. This is a group of around 60 Menomonee Falls High School's juniors and seniors that were nominated to make an impact on the incoming freshmen. They made these new students less nervous, more confident. They sparked their curiosity, gained stronger communication skills among peers, and helped them learn how to manage time management, which is a key part of high school. We as a school also just had homecoming, as most of you probably know, a week that is organized by our amazing student council. They spent many hours making homecoming night great for all of our students. They wrote the announcements, arranged Spirit Week to get everyone in spirit, as well as decorate our hallways with this year's theme, which was Menomonee. Additionally, RWA, which is a club at our school that is a recognition of women's efforts and achievement, they just put on a bake sale that raised around $600 for our annual Go Pink event. This is an event that is a volleyball event between our varsity girls volleyball versus our varsity boys soccer team. This event raises awareness for breast cancer. Another big fundraiser at our school was put on by the Key Club, which was Socktober. It is a worldwide event with a goal of collecting socks for those in need. Socks are the most needed items for all homeless shelters in the Midwest, as the cold winter months are ahead. All socks collected from our high school are going to be donated to local shelters. We as a whole collected over 600 pairs of socks this year. And that concludes the activities report.
Thank you.
Nice job.
So, nice job, ladies. On to our board members. Anybody have anything to report?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I'm sure you've all gotten the letter from Dan Ross Miller and WASB to take a look at things that are going on, and as the delegate, just kind of want to mention, they're asking for feedback before November 8th. Some of the highlights on that, state budget priorities is support increasing special education categorical aid, and then provide school districts with, at minimum, some inflationary increases in spendable resources, and that being flexible as well. So I thought that was, a good message to get out there, what they've been working on for us. And like I said, if you have any feedback for Dan, he's looking for that, so.
Alright, thank you. Anybody else? Superintendent Mooney, you're out.
Yeah, and I'll just start on, let's kind of piggyback on Board Member Ren's reference about coming into budget time for the next cycle. He had mentioned special education funding. Currently, we're only funded at 33% of total need for special education. All public schools in the state are funded at 33%. So any increase in that percentage, I think would be reasonable. I think that would be a common ask from any school district in the state. Congratulations to Board Member Wappert, now Dr. Wappert. It's official now, so congratulations on the dissertation approval and, yep. I'll have to remember to call you Dr. Wappert.
Does he get a pen?
No pens, no. I did provide, each board member should have a small newspaper with this inserted in it with a picture. So I'll start my report, which is a little lengthy, so I'll just zip through it. So congratulations and thank you to Ms. Shimaleski and her 16 students whose illustrations are in this handout that you have. So that was awesome. The Express News 2024 Halloween coloring book. So the students were selected to have those pictures in there, and that's going out to the community. It's already being distributed to the community. So that's excellent. So I provided a copy for each board member from the high school art department, along with a photo of the class. Just notice that in that posting that is going in the Express News, the Menomonee Falls High School art and design logo is also on the front cover, which is great. So one of the students was selected to actually be the picture on the front. So I actually stopped into their class and I was emailed about it, so I went down and actually met with the class and all 16 of the students to thank them for their efforts. And there's a picture of them there, of the class that you have in front of you. Along with, you can see that picture as well, so that's just great. Congratulations to all those involved in the highly successful 2024 homecoming celebration. I did make it to some activities. I didn't actually see the staff dance, but I know for certain that Mr. Gebauer got very wet. Because I saw him preparing extra clothes before the ceremony, and I said, is everything okay? And he says, I guess I'm going to need a second set of clothes. So all very fun with homecoming activities. When you're a high school principal, it's one of those things that you just have to do, which is great. It's a lot of fun, and I was there for some chair activity where they walk around and like sit in the chair and whatever, and musical chairs. And a sheltered childhood. I never played musical chairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis, for the zinger. Oh, you're not gonna live that down.
I'll take it. I was kind of taken by it because there was a young lady that she was wow. Like she was winning, but she wasn't winning in a bad way. She was just so fast that I was gonna leave before that because I had to get to another building. But I was like, and actually, I think she should have won. And
I think so. That's my friend Liz Herman. Because I did the musical chairs activity as well.
Okay.
I got out, but
like I think she should have. But I'm not gonna make it whatever. It's on camera. But I thought it was a lot of fun. It was great, and the activities. I was at the homecoming game for the entire game. You know, even though unfortunately they lost, you could see the activities. A lot of great spirit out there. It was just a lot of fun. The whole night it was just a wonderful night to be outside. I hear the dance went really well, especially the first DJ.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've been told the first DJ.
Yeah,
right
he's
there.
a fan favorite. Yes. He had to leave early.
Like how do we book him longer?
I know.
Like I was asked that. I went to the high school lunchroom. I think it was Monday or Tuesday after homecoming, and that's all I was asked. What about how can we get this person longer? And I'm like, I don't know. So I did ask about it. I'm like, whatever. Oh, anyway. So it was a lot of fun. Homecoming was great. So the Thanksgiving season encourages reflection and gratitude, which is great. We saw that here today with the finest presentation, and all of them. All four of those students who we had up here, Jillian Olson, the Toy Drive, Maddie Beelfus, Alexis Middleman, and Chloe Peterson. They're just doing amazing things, and I thought it all fit together really good. So that was just wonderful. Starting off with the finest this year. So those students really demonstrate a lot. I mean, a lot of our students, more than just them, are giving back in our community, in our school, and they do it often. That's just one example of it. Thursday morning, I hosted a breakfast at North Middle School to celebrate all of our principals for National Principals Month. So I saw the video briefly. I know Mr. Halverson has watched the whole thing, and it's really good. So I recommend you take a look at it. I think we're putting it out November 1st. It'll be coming out in our newsletter. So take a look at it. All of the principals are interviewed at one time by John McCure. So all 6 of our building principals are interviewed at one time by John McCure. And there's some really cool spots in there where he does a great job kind of asking questions of all of them. So October is National School Principals Month. So I held a little breakfast for them and celebrated them, which was great, and we ended with the taping. Also doing some coffee with some students at the middle school, so that was fun as well. A lot of significant events over the next few weeks, but before the next board meeting though, now this list a few. Tomorrow night is Strings Fest on 7 o'clock at North Auditorium. Strings Fest, 6 to 12. So 6th grade through 12th grade, I'll be there from 7 to 9, it looks like. And then there's a Bands of the Falls, which I attended last year, and I'll be going again, that's November 6th, over at the high school gym. And then we have a Veterans Day celebration that same day, but earlier in the day at Riverside Elementary. So there'll be a celebration for Veterans Day, November 6th at Riverside, coordinated by the community ed and rec. So you all have those dates in there. If you're gonna attend, just let me know. Tomorrow is the only one, we'll have to keep it 3 or less. We don't have enough time to post, but feel free to come if you'd like to come to the Strings concert. Also, just wanted to reference, if any community member would like to donate to our push to support Wisconsin Stars and Stripes honor flights. It's something that we do every year. We did it last year. Stop at the community ed and rec main office to donate, or just shoot me an email and I'll send you in the right direction to make sure you can donate, so that we collect money so that we can send veterans on honor flights. So those donations you can do at the community ed and rec main office. So a few other items, the community ed and rec department of the school district of Menomonee Falls is a great community hub of collaboration, kindness, support, and generosity. They do a lot of great things for us, including childcare, aquatics, adult athletics, as well as school-age intramurals. I think it's now living in the community, going over a year now, I think community ed and rec, it is definitely part of the school district of Menomonee Falls. And there's some people that don't understand, they think it's like a village thing, and we love the village is great, right? But community ed and rec is part of the school district, and we're proud that they're part of the school district, and they have a lot of activities that foster family engagement, community connections. Feel free to go on the website for CE and rec and look at all the exciting things they got going there. Thank you to the Village Falls Architectural Control Board, which approved the expansion plans for community ed and rec last week. So that's exciting. So you can't go forward with building that additional gym and expanding 18,000 square feet unless the Architectural Control Board approves it, which they did. Which we're excited about that, and that also allows us to add space onto Riverside. So all that work that we put in planning, it's come to the village was awesome. I sat in on the Architectural Control Board meeting, they had some questions back and forth, but it really is a blessing to have such a great relationship with the village, and you could see that in that meeting. Last thing, I know we're gonna talk about this a lot, and this is my last piece, and I'll kind of cut it down a little bit, but we understand and take seriously our responsibility to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars, especially during challenging economic times, which I believe that we're in. We're gonna be getting into presentations about utilizing some of those dollars in this meeting as we go forward. So just know that we're focused on the strategic plan in this respect. We're looking at our employees, we're looking at our finances and facilities. I put a few items from the strategic plan that we're focused on the bottom. But rest assured, the board here and the community online and present, that our recommendations coming forward are fiscally conservative, but also understanding about the total effect this can have on families. You know, we're taxpayer funded and we're very conscious of that and very sensitive to that. So we'll reference that as we continue to go. That is all that I have.
Thank you so much. Emma, I know that they're seniors who don't have a lot of things to do, so this the time if you'd like to come on your table.
Perfectly okay.
Yeah. Also, two our administrators need that table, so. Wow.
Keeping it real.
It's perfectly okay. The others last year, it was good.
I got a lot of psych notes to take.
Busy time.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having us
Thank you,
today.
Emma. Thank you, Kate.
Great job tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
She wants to be.
Alright, so on to our first discussion item, which is the application for new sport and club.
Yeah, this is a discussion item, pickleball club. This pickleball is one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing, sports in the nation. And actually, the additional gym that I just referenced in my report at CE and Rec will have pickleball courts able to be in there. So we are recommending this approval for action later, but obviously, this is the discussion portion.
So are they anticipating a 2025 fall and spring?
Maybe.
I think it's already.
Yes.
Or is that ready?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's what I was like, what?
I was just doing the calendar in my head, yes.
It's
Yes.
underway.
It's underway already,
Yes,
right, okay.
Indoors,
indoors. But it may be outdoors as
because it
well,
says Oakwood
Well, it
and
says
Village Park,
Oakwood and-
so
in Village
Village.
Park.
but I'm confused about, because we don't have very good weather here in the fall.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, it's maybe 85.
So maybe once the C and Rec's done, they can move it.
Yeah, I mean,
Get
they're,
court
C and Rec,
space.
that's definitely gonna be part of the C and Rec bill, but I
Is
think
Jason here? I thought I saw him.
he was,
Oh,
but I
okay.
think he
Alright.
left. The, I think it,
He took over for me watching the door.
yeah,
This would be a club with a teacher, right? This isn't a
This
C
is
and
a
rec,
C
this
and rec
isn't a
club.
C and rec club.
Right,
Right.
This is
okay.
a school sponsored.
Yeah,
They,
this-
they schedule the things, right? Or does the
no,
the village?
no, this is school.
School.
This is
No,
not
I know
C.
the courts.
Yeah.
Oakwood and Village Park
Still-
courts
Yeah, you still use
are
the
scheduled by
Oh.
the village.
courts.
Yeah.
I am sure that somebody in the athletic office, as you're
Yeah.
introducing a new sport, will coordinate that location.
I was gonna say, because they're in high demand, those pickleball
Mhm.
courts, and they're filled up a lot, I hear. I
Yeah, I think
play,
we're gonna get in line.
yeah, so
Yeah.
they must reserve them possibly, but I do know they're making more courts in Arrow Park coming soon, I think.
I did hear that, you're right.
Questions?
Sounds great.
Yeah, looks like this is fun, the one function is
It's all the rage.
It is.
High injuries for older people though. I'm just saying.
Really?
It's on high school.
Well, yeah, youngers are too.
Alright, is there anything else, we'll move to 2025-26 school year calendar. Presented by Ms. Leah Scott, you're welcome back.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you have a glow.
It's great to be back.
You do have a glow.
There you go, hold that. No, it's okay, the glow of relaxation. Yeah, so I'm kinda happy to bring it even earlier than we had before. So people have even more time to prepare. I would say for the most part, this calendar mirrors what people have seen over the last few years. This year, Labor Day is right there, September 1st to start us out. So statutorily, we can start no sooner than September 1st. So biggest change to the calendar for, I guess, everyone, but probably mostly families, will be the request of the 5K through 5th grade schools to start on Wednesday, September 3rd instead of Tuesday, September 2nd. So our 9th through 12th graders at North and the high school would start school as we historically have traditionally on, the day after Labor Day, September 2nd in this case. The elementaries have requested one extra day to have what they call the Ready, Set, Go conferences, where the teachers are able to meet individually with families, with their student, to be the best prepared for academic success that they can for that school year, to get acclimated into that new grade, to go over all of the students' academic abilities, achievements, and needs, and they have requested that. In tandem is the other attachment that shows the DPI required minutes, and hours, and how they count. And our elementary schools, obviously all the kids in the district go to school all on the same days, right? But DPI requires different amount of times based on various age levels. And so our elementary school kids historically have had just over 6 extra days of school than required by DPI, where our middle and high school are usually running around 3 or 4 days extra over what DPI requires. And so they felt that they did have that additional time, and they still have the most extra time, in which they could better utilize that time to make sure that they're meeting those individual needs that families have come to really rely on and look forward to at the beginning of the year. So even though they would be starting 1 day later, they still are well above all of those requirements, and they do feel that it would bring benefit to the students. Our 4K kids have always started like 2 days later, which would be the 4th, so there would be no change there. I see that as the most significant change. Then I guess depending on how you see things, could be good or bad for you, I guess, but we're looking at a 2-week Christmas break, which I think a lot of people would be happy about. And really, this just comes down to how holidays fall on a calendar. So for, I think the last 6 or 7 years, we had off on the 23rd. Families and staff have really appreciated not having off just the first time on the 24th when the holidays really started in already, and people have plans with, the holidays. And so when we look at the calendar, with the 24th and 25th being the actual district holidays and historically giving off on the 23rd, well, no one's coming to school on Monday the 22nd for 1 day out of a 2-week period. And then when you look at the following week where we come to the New Year's, the 31st and the 1st are the district holidays, and then once again, who wants to go to school on Friday after having that period of time. So for this year, the way the calendar falls is an anomaly, but we would be looking at a 2-week Christmas. Our friends in other school districts, about 20 other school districts, we do share this information with each other. We don't release each other's names because the boards haven't approved this yet, but this month and next month, you'll see a lot of calendars going before their school boards. And aside from 2 districts on here, December 22nd through January 2nd is the norm, that people are taking that 2-week Christmas. So we would be in the vast majority of school districts looking to have that as our calendar. The other break is spring break. We follow the CISA 1 group, which is a larger region of school districts in our area. And we have agreed upon March 30th through April 3rd. I think historically people might have thought, oh, it's gonna be the week of the 23rd. Pardon me, we did consider that, however, Easter falls that weekend after the 3rd. The 3rd is Good Friday. And as a CISA 1 group, actually over the course of many years ago, we've done this for like 10 years, this lookout, we agreed to go the 30th through the 3rd to incorporate Good Friday into spring break. Otherwise, what you have is a spring break, come back for 4 days and a 4-day weekend, and that really just pushes you out even further into the summer by doing that. So once again, so far, it looks like everybody on our group of peers says, well, I take that back. One person didn't fill it out, but we look to have that CISA 1 spring break occurring across our region.
I think this calendar sets up really well for us, generally speaking. We can't start legally till September 1st. September 1st happens to be a holiday. So there's that. That didn't used to be the case, but it's the case now in terms of state law, unless you have certain exceptions, like you're in a building project or something. So I think it sets up very well. There's still a long break for Thanksgiving. So there's still Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 5-day break. Traditionally hunting, it's time with your family, that kind of thing. So all those things are built in. I think it sets up very well for us.
I do have one question. As we look at end of year, and I know we talked in committee that end of school year is a half day on that June 10th. Has there been thought given to when commencement would be, since that's the middle of the week?
Oh, I don't participate in that discussion. I'm not 100% sure.
We'll take care of that. Mr. Gebauer and I will meet about that with Mr. Halverson. Actually, minutes for seniors don't count against the calculator. So we'll work on that. We'll work on that, Mr. Gebauer, myself, Mr. Halverson. We'll dial in graduation and make sure that we get it locked in quickly.
It's just unique that it's ending on a Wednesday, so
And that's about the same time that there's 2 districts are entering earlier than us, the rest are all within that window or later.
And have we socialized this with staff? They're okay with it? I know last year we
Yeah, I
socialized
shared,
it.
well, yeah, last year we had a little bit more that we were looking at, but yeah, I shared it out with administrators and then they shared it out with their teams.
Okay, perfect.
I would think they might come on those holidays all together like that, like for traveling, et cetera, so I think it'd be a win-win. I don't have a problem with it. Anybody?
Looks good.
That's right.
No other questions? Thank you.
Alright, next is the 2024 budget approval and tax levy certification.
Okay, I'm gonna try to turn that to me since everybody's. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I mean, should I do this one? No. Okay. I believe we use the same remote, and if it doesn't work, we're just gonna do this one.
Do you need the other things or should we go Jason?
For the budget, no, but you can show for the other one.
You should,
Unless you, are you, no, I mean, it's ready.
you're good, you don't need to stay for health insurance.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, so this is our final 24-25 budget presentation and tax levy adoption for 24-25 budget. Our budget is landing in a great place and we are presenting all of our final budget factors tonight. I'll also echo what Mr. Munoz said about being serious about the responsibility that we have with our taxpayers' dollars. So this budget reflects fiscally conservative practice and also is balanced. So I'm looking forward to presenting tonight. Everybody has the budget booklet, which is attached on board docs. This is for community as well. And ultimately what the board would be approving is page 4 that details the budget as well as the tax levy. I'm going to start with big picture. So there's a few key formulas that we look at that ultimately calculate our overall revenue and then also our tax levy and our mill rate. And then we'll also go into some of those weeds on the revenues and expense side, look at trends and also our health insurance increase, which is a big impact in our budget. So starting with the key formulas, there's 4 key formulas. I call these the big 4. So I'll go through them first and then we'll kind of go through them again with numbers in them. So the revenue limit formula, this dictates the majority of our overall revenue. Our resident membership, which is a full-time equivalency count, it's a 3-year average, times our per pupil dollar amount, plus non-recurring and recurring exemptions. Those are much smaller in the grand scheme of things, so I won't spend much time on that. That equals our overall revenue limit authority. The next piece of that, it's always gonna take that final piece and then bring it down to the next formula. So the next piece is now we can calculate our total tax levy. So we take our revenue limit less equalization aid and other aids, and that equals our revenue limit tax levy. There are values within both of those that are released in October, so that's why we, up to this point, use a preliminary budget, and now we can finally bring forward our final budget. We're able to calculate our revenue limit tax levy. We then add in any other levies that are applicable, so that would be Fund 39, Fund 80, or property tax chargebacks. We do not have Fund 39 levy this year, as we talked about a number of times, to make room for a larger Fund 80 levy to support our community ed and rec expansion. We do have small property tax chargeback, so that then helps us calculate our total school-based tax levy. We then take that total school-based tax levy divided by our equalized property value times 1,000, and that's our tax mill rate. So going through with numbers now, our resident membership FTE is 3,828 students, and I'll go through in each of these areas how this relates to the prior year. So first we'll take a look at our September and summer school count. We do that each year, and then we average the most 3 recent years. So from last year to this year, FTE decreased by 28 students. So you can see the graph, I try to put as many graphs as I can in here because I think that helps understand the context of where we've been and where we are now. So the drop in 28 is a 0.73% decrease in the FTE. But the actual count that matters within our revenue limit is the 3-year average. So because we grew so much the prior year, that even though we have a 28 FTE decrease, our 3-year average, we still have a +4 FTE. So that's a good thing, because that represents, in the formula, additional dollars. So this 3-year average is what matters in the revenue limit formula. We take that value times our per pupil dollar amount. So that is a flat number. It is increased each year within the state's biennial budget. So we know now that we have a $325 per pupil increase. So we literally just add $325 to last year's amount. And we are now at a $12,080.61 per pupil dollar amount. I won't, again, go into the weeds on the exemptions, but ultimately that allows us to calculate our overall revenue limit authority. So how does that look compared to last year? Our overall revenue limit authority increased by 1.7 million, or about 3.7% increase from the prior year. All of this except for the voucher payments. The voucher payments are roughly $2 million. All of that is spendable dollars for our school district. Next is state aid. So again, I have the formulas on the bottom as a reminder. So our overall revenue limit authority less aid equals our revenue limit tax levy. The way aid compares to the prior year is a 11% decrease. We anticipated this in our preliminary budget. Aid bounces around all the time. It's a complicated formula, and it's also it's dependent on a number of factors, but also how other districts are spending their dollars, and also what the state has put into the pot. So we knew that we were going to be seeing a decrease, and this graph shows the 24-25, the current budget is far on the right. So while it sounds like a large decrease, we really are coming down from a high year, so it's just kind of leveling out to a more standard place for equalization aid. So really no surprises there for us. We then calculate our total tax levy, and that total levy is almost, it was just off by $15,000 from our estimates from our preliminary budget, which it's always nice when our actuals align with what we have been projecting. So our total levy is an increase of 2.2%, or $848,255 from the prior year. And again, our tax levy graph over the last 10 years shows that we've really been hovering right under the $40 million mark. It's nice when a school district is able to avoid the roller coastering that can happen, especially when we see aid fluctuating all the time. So that's part of our goal, is to allow our taxpayers to kind of project what they might see year to year, and our goal is to avoid that roller coastering that could happen with tax levies in school districts. Equalized property values is an area that we unfortunately did not predict the future. So we had been projecting a 4% increase in our equalized property values, and in fact we are seeing a 0.3% decrease. I've done some investigative research over the last few weeks. We know that the state average is almost 9%, and again, we're seeing a 0.3% decrease. In Waukesha County, we've been coming down from that as an average, and this year we're seeing an average of about 4%. So we would have been right on track had we had our 4%. But our value, this still seemed low. So when we brought this to Finance Committee, the committee asked if we could seek more information with the Department of Revenue. So I've been in touch with a few people from the Department of Revenue, both over email, and I had a phone call this morning to learn more. And what before I get into that, I'm gonna show why we're projecting our 4%. So this is a graph that was included both in the annual meeting and then also in your budget packet. Right above that box is the percent change from the prior year. So you can see we were at 4.08, we had a 7.87, 11.67% increase, 11.64% increase. So it's very reasonable to project our 4% increase. We were coming down, we didn't project as steep of a decline, all the way down to a negative decrease in our equalized value. So that was the why of the 4%. what we've learned is that ultimately Menomonee Falls as a village, a whole village, so not just the school portion, not just our school portion, this includes Hamilton's school portion as well. Our equalized value last year was actually overvalued. Our total last year should not have been as high as it was. So in order to correct that, the state had to decrease our total value, our total equalized value by $167 million. Now, when I look at, I've been digging into this, and there is a report, this actually comes from DOR's 2024 Statement of Changes in Equalized Values. It's by county, so I pulled Waukesha County. There is not another school district, not another municipality, I should say, that has even remotely close to this number, this high percentage of a correction from the prior year. The next closest in terms of a correction in a dollar amount was the city of Brookfield with an $18 million correction, and then the next closest was Heartland, an $8.5 million correction. And I should say, these are decreasing corrections. So we are almost 10 times higher than the next closest. So all of that is to say this is a very large percentage decrease in terms of a correction.
And we have no control
We have no control.
at all over the correction or the valuation, or we're more providing information and doing digging since the committee meeting so that we were able to explain the why of equalized the $167,457,200 decrease in equalized property values for the village, which, as Caitlin just mentioned, is the largest
In the county.
in the county
And
by far.
potentially in the state. I haven't got, these reports unfortunately don't export into Excel, so I printed out the Waukesha County one, I went municipality by municipality, and I actually did the same with Milwaukee. There's not a Milwaukee County municipality either that has remotely as high of a decrease. So I could assume it's probably top 10 in the state, that's an assumption, but just after talking to the DOR, I've been talking with supervisor of equalization at the DOR in the Equalization Bureau. So he's the one that I'm learning this information from. This is a very high adjustment. So essentially the assessor had brought new information to the state last year, but not in time to include it in last year's equalization equalized property values. So ultimately, when I go back to last year's amount, we should not have had 2 years of 11.6% increases in a row. And unfortunately, if we had the real number last year, we probably would be in the 7s in our mill rate last year. And instead, we dropped down and now we're going back up because last year shouldn't have been as high. So it would have been a nicer graph in our mill rate history had we not had a correction that had to be made if last year was actually accurate.
But we still have the second lowest mill rate
In 31 years.
31 years.
So let me show that graph. So that's this one. Oh wait, actually this is equalized property values. So you can see how we had, again, that jump in the second to the right bar. Last year, it shouldn't have jumped as high. And now we have a slight correction this year.
If you hadn't asked the questions, Caitlin, how would
Yes.
we have been notified about this?
We wouldn't.
Oh, super.
We would just get the number.
We get the number on October 1st. So we got the number on October 1st. And I was given some information about so there wasn't a change in the formula this year about basically manufacturing was pulled out. Manufacturing personal property is no longer taxed. This is the first year of that. But it didn't make sense. We don't have exponentially way more manufacturing property that was removed than every other district for us to justify a decrease in equalization aid. So that's where I just continued to ask questions when that wasn't aligning. And then I was led to this report and then this giant number of 167 million in an adjustment. So again, we're presented with this information, we don't dictate it, it just comes to us, it's one of those values. We talked about the ones that come to us in October, this is one of them.
Oh, we appreciate the why.
And I learned a lot more about how to find reports on the DOR website.
You're welcome.
So that leads us to the mill rate. The formula is the total levy divided by the equalized property values times 1,000 is our mill rate. So when our denominator, when our equalized property values went down farther than we assumed, our mill rate is higher than we projected. So 2.6% higher than last year. And again, this shows that mill rate over time. It is still the second lowest in 31 years. Last year should have been higher, now we know. But we didn't know it at the time. And then this graph then shows the 31 years of mill rate history, so there we are in the end, right there. And then the way that the mill rate impacts a homeowner is that every property tax dollars levied per $1,000 of equalized property value. So take this times every $1,000 of equalized property value for a home. And on the left, we show the average home in the village, $310,000 and what that means. And it's always important to bring both the tax levy and the mill rate forward, so the graph on the right shows both related with each other. Okay, about anything else on that? That's the biggest surprise in that budget.
The one thing, remember the question I asked at the annual meeting about equalization aid and MPS and all the referendums and the big referendums?
Yes.
Have we taken a hit? I mean, it was projected about 380,000.
You're talking about aid.
Yeah,
Aid, not
sorry, aid, did I say something? Yeah.
No, you're good.
So
I can't speak accurately yet.
Yeah.
I wanna talk to the state, to DPI, and we work with Baird to understand, because there's already, like, we had so much wonkiness.
Yeah.
If you take that word,
yeah,
this year, that I wanna understand better and accurately how MPS, there's two things with MPS. It's their ultimately inaccurate reporting from the prior year, so aid had to be adjusted. So that's one piece, and they're actually going to be, that aid's gonna go back to the bucket for other districts. But the other piece of it is the referendum, where they're gonna they're gonna get more aid.
Yep.
So there's two layers of that we have to unpack, and I don't have an accurate answer.
oh yeah, I know,
but
I'm just
I'm just
kinda
as interested
curious,
as
like,
you are
yeah,
too,
like
so.
what we could be, yeah.
Yeah,
And it
well-
seems, it's so different, the amounts.
Yeah. And the equalization aid formula is honestly like way more complex than even the revenue limit formula is, so we could go into it in a finance committee for sure.
Oh yeah, no,
But
I
I'll
was
bring
just
when I
kinda
have
curious
it,
if you-
the impact.
just to throw that out there, yeah.
I'll bring the impact of MPS, both their state aid thing, in terms of their reporting, and then also the revenue piece when we get more information.
Okay.
But really good question.
Is there a timeline for that at all, or is it just actively under analysis?
I don't have a timeline, so
Okay.
when I hear more, and I'll continue to ask questions.
Super.
So we'll move into vouchers then. So vouchers are a piece within our overall revenue limit and tax levy. The main point to know here is that we do actually get aid to offset this amount. So it's not a taxpayer funded piece. Aid is a year delayed, but ultimately we do get aid in roughly the same amount to offset our voucher payments. Vouchers in our overall revenue limit are $2 million. They have gone up each year significantly. And so when I said in the very beginning that $2 million of our overall revenue limit is not spendable to us, that's because that's this, and that goes, basically it's an in and out through the school district, and we pay it right back out for vouchers. Okay. School levy tax credit. We only started talking about this last year because previously the legislature has used equalization aid via this formula to provide taxpayer relief. However, last year was the first year in the state biennial budget that the state put new money in, more money into this other bucket of fund, the school levy tax credit. So it became important for us to start talking about because it does provide taxpayer relief, just in another avenue, of course. So this is shown on tax bills in a separate line item, that school tax credit. So the pot of money did increase again this year, so if anybody wants to do the math on projecting their own school-based portion of their tax bills, I would just use the same number that you're seeing from the prior year. Chances are it will go up a little bit more because the state did fund it at a little bit higher rate this year. So those are the big formulas. I will spend a few more minutes on budget highlights. So we have revenues and expenses, open enrollment trends, and health insurance increases. I have talked about this as a balanced budget, and our Fund 10 general operating budget is a balanced budget, meaning our revenues match our expenditures. It is our practice to use carryover allocations, which ultimately means when there's a timing difference between when we get the funds in the budget and then when we're paying it out. The carryover is outlined in page 16 of the budget packet, and I'll go over highlights here. They total roughly $3 million. So the total revenues that you're seeing up here and the total expenses, which are ultimately showing a negative number, match what's in the packet. So you're approving with carryover funding. It'll be important to show one, the breakdown, and then two, how our fund balance looks at the end of the day, at the end of the year, after these carryover funds are used. So the carryover breakdown, majority of it is for capital projects, which number of these you are very familiar to you, so 1.3 million is for our North Middle School chiller. Again, we've talked about that last year was going to be utilized last year, and then it's happening now. So $1.3 million in expenses this year that were already planned for last year, as well as the Riverside Facilities Project. So that's the Fund 10 portion of the CE and REC and Riverside project. And then we also have $46,000 for the high school generator, which basically is finalizing all the connections onto the generator.
And the Riverside project portion, they are looking to have that started and completed before the start of the next school year, just as a heads up. So that piece, we've gotten into that into our CE and REC discussions. So while there will be more of the project going on after the start of the school year with the additional 18,000 square feet, the Riverside portion, the goal is to have that started and completed before the start of the next school year.
That's great.
Important point.
So that'll be fall of 2025.
Correct.
The remaining 1 million of carryover is identified for a number of smaller items. The first is timing of grant revenues and expenditures. This is always something we have for grants that are not on a reimbursement basis. So generally our grants, we are told the dollar amount, but not actually given the money. And then we spend the item, we spend the dollars, and then we submit for reimbursement, we get reimbursed. So that's nice that that happens within the same fiscal year. But we have grants like common school funds, where we actually get the money up front. And when we haven't spent all the dollars, we have to indicate the revenue in the one year and then the rest of the expenses in the other. So we have a few of those that are on our carryover total list. We have some facility items, mowers, North Middle School elevator, high school press box, and then school and division carryover balances that total the remaining. So the full breakdown is on page 16 of the budget packet. This is the high level breakdown. And then what's important is to know how that looks in our overall history of our fund balance. Basically, we're spending the 2 years, normally it's just the 1 year, but really the 2 years of surpluses from the 22-23 and 23-24 year. At the end of the 24-25 year, we're still projected to be at a fund balance just short of 35%, which is very healthy and allows us to avoid short-term borrowing for cash flow purposes. So that 2.9 million, while it's a very high number, is truly just timing differences. And really the majority of those are those large facility projects. So nothing to be concerned about, everything has been planned, and this is the important graph that shows we're not actually spending down our fund balance, it's just timing from the last 2 years.
A reminder to the board and the community, the fund balance is maintained so that we don't have to do short-term borrowing. So a good number of districts in the state regularly do short-term borrowing in a high interest rate environment. That can be a difficult thing, so we understand it inside, but just so everybody understands it, we don't receive all the money from Madison at any one, it doesn't all come July.
It's halfway through the year.
Yeah, it comes at intermittent times throughout the year, hence the need for the fund balance.
A trend that we're seeing in our budget that we've talked about a few times is our open enrollment ins and outs. This only goes through last year, so on the left you're seeing the ins as the yellows and the outs as the orange bar graph. So as those come together, our net revenue decreases over time. In our current budget, 24-25, we have a net revenue of $15,000. So we are just about at that break-even point. And it's just important to know that this is a trend that we see within our budget. And then finally, final highlight of tonight, which I guess maybe is a little light, honestly, is our health insurance increase. We'll talk through that in another agenda item in more detail. We had 6 years of no health insurance premium increases, which is unheard of and really amazing. And those years have resulted in a reserve that was built up over those years. However, now we're seeing a almost 20% increase in health insurance on the plan, 19.69 to be exact. So while medical spend was down, which is great, it shows that our plan design is working, our nice healthcare is potentially also having an impact. Prescription drug cost increases were significant, and ultimately that is the reason why our health insurance is going up so significantly. Our total expenses on our plan, if you were to look through like the details in our budget, we spend $5 million annually on health insurance. When that goes up by 20%, that goes up by $1 million to $6 million. Our health insurance is on the calendar year, so that starts January 1, 2025. The benefit of that for us is that we're only realizing 6 months of that increase in this year's budget, so we have a $500,000 increase in health insurance this year compared to last year.
The benefit of being self-funded, right? So not all school districts are self-funded, but the benefit that we are self-funded, so the benefit of it is with the saving 6 years of no increases, we've been able to save up the difference and have some dollars to put into that $5 to $6 million increase. But there's still more expenses beyond that because of those huge pharmacy increases that were already mentioned.
So again, with this increase, this is reflected in our document and all of our revenues and expenditures, so with this, we still have a balanced budget. We will talk in future meetings what this looks like going forward, but know that this was a big impact in our budget, to the tune of $1 million, only $500,000 of which are in the 24-25 budget. So the highlight of this is that our budget is balanced this year, and that's a good thing. Any questions?
Very well done. A lot of really good information.
And thank you for digging in on the why.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Alright, support is made. Next would be the health insurance report.
Great segue.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just put those back up. So I have 1,000 notes in case you asked any question on the budget, I could have answered any question.
Maybe ready.
We do always rely on you.
Should be prepared next year.
Thank you.
Okay, so as we just talked about, our health insurance increase this year is going up by 19.69% after 6 years of 0% increases. The good news of being self-funded is that we did get to realize those savings over those 6 years, which grew our reserves by $3 million within our health insurance liability account. That's where basically the accounting happens in our health insurance program. Last year, we were faced with a 12% increase, and we worked to adjust our network with minimal employee disruptions. You might remember that actually from the same meeting from last year, a year ago. We then were able to create enough savings to both maintain our premiums for another year, implement a one-time health savings account contribution or an HSA contribution, and we partnered with Nice Healthcare. So Nice Healthcare is a standalone program where all expenses happen outside of our plan. So that's an amazing savings that we can see from that, where anything that happens where we see those doctors or those providers outside of our plan, nothing impacts our renewal. Unfortunately, we saw the highest increase in our prescription drugs, so that's where we're seeing that 20% increase come from after those years of $0 increases. In the chart that's within board docs, the green represents the annual employee amount. I will make this larger. It's also available on our website on board docs. Can't go that big. Right now the split is 87-13. Employees pay 13%, employees pay 30%, the employer pays 87% of the district. The annual employee amount right now, as our current premiums stand, is for the single, $1,293.96. and the family rate is $2,987.28. Annually, I think it's important to note this because this is where the $5 million of costs come from for health insurance is annually for a single plan, the employer, the school district, pays $8,659.80. Single plan, family plan, just under $20,000 per plan. So that's where we get the split of employees paying 13% and the school district paying 87% for health insurance premiums. In a normal scenario, when we have a health insurance increase, which we have, again, not experienced for a number of years, we're kind of used to zero, right? Like, we just haven't had an increase. We, as in both the district and the employees. Normally, when we have an increase, that entire increase is passed along in the same percentage. So if we had, say, a 5% increase, normally the school district and employees both realize that 5% increase. We know that 19.69 is a shock to the system, and so we have represented a scenario where that, in a normal situation where we would pass that along, where both employees and the school district increase their premiums by 19.69. We have listed on board docs what that difference monthly and annually is for both the single plan and the family plan, monthly and annually. However, we have presented a recommendation of only passing along half of that increase in year one being calendar year of 2025. So what that monthly additional amount for a single plan would be under a 10% increase is $10.78, and a family plan increase monthly is $24.89, so just under $25 for the family plan monthly. In this scenario, the split between employer and employee is no longer 87-13, it's 88-12, so the district takes on a higher percentage of that total premium. And that additional cost for that 1 year for 2025 is $75,000. We can afford that, can afford that within the savings that we've realized over those 6 years, the 6 good years. Again, that's the benefit of us being self-funded. We got to see the benefit, and now we're gonna see ultimately what happens when we have a self-funded plan. We get to utilize those savings, and we also have to react to a 19.69% increase. So our recommendation is to ultimately only provide employees with half of that increase. The district would take on the additional other 10%. But in year 2, 2026, is when the full amount would then be realized by our employees. What's also important to know is that we have been informed that we should not be used to this 0% increase anymore. We will be seeing increases in health insurance. That's just not the norm. It wasn't the norm, but especially in today's day and age with medical trend and these high cost drugs. Leah mentioned in our committee meeting about all the commercials that you see for drugs. Those are our high cost drugs that we experience in our plan that can be $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 annually on our plan for one person. So significant costs. When we say high cost, it really is a high cost to the plan. So unfortunately, we have to get used to a new norm of health insurance premium increases. So if in scenario 2, where we only pass along the 10% increase, employees have to understand that they would see basically a higher double-digit increase the second year, because not only would we have the second half of that 20%, but also likely a new increase in health insurance premiums year 2, so those are compounded.
And we think it's reasonable with the savings realized over 6 years to, instead of passing on the full amount to our staff, to come at 10%, especially with a short window between now and renewal, which is, we're right into it. We just received a lot of these numbers. There were some really high numbers. We think we have the money, but just understand that the district is putting in an additional $1 million just to stay steady
With our health insurance.
with our health insurance as it is. We have to increase from $5 to $6 million in spend just to keep things at the current.
Yeah, so this includes no plan design changes. So in the last meeting I said, when things get to really critical stages financially, you're making plan design changes, meaning you're not covering some things that you used to cover. You're putting a lot of qualifiers on things you'll cover and a lot of hurdles for people to jump through, or you're shifting those costs from something that was maybe 100% covered to now it's 80 or 70 or 50% covered. Normally, when you see, like we had a nice reduction in medical costs, you would be pleased. Unfortunately, over the last 5 to 8 years, what I feel I've seen is that it used to be surgeries, like, oh, people would have surgeries and they're these high cost things and you're doing everything you can for preventative medicine to make sure people don't have all of these, you know, in-hospital doctor care things. Now, one drug for one person for rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's disease costs more than 4 surgeries. And so it's really a reshifting of thinking and where your expenses are going. And every year, there will just be more and more of these high-cost specialty drugs, and they usually have a 20-year patent before you see a generic come out. So unfortunately, every time you see a commercial, they're probably still pretty new. And we've got like another, 20 or 15 years left to go on that. So we are working with our consultants. I mean, we do take this seriously because we know it's our new hurdle to try to figure out different ways to try to realize savings in these pharmaceuticals. But that is our significant area, and unfortunately, things like NICE, aren't covering these high-cost specialty meds. They're doing a great job of taking off, instead of going to urgent care, the ER, or instead of all of those like daily, regular, old-fashioned now meds that people are taking are coming off. But we are doing a lot of work to try to figure out how to come at this. But we should expect to see these increases continue, as there's not much you can do about someone taking a specialty med unless you choose to cover it differently, which obviously has a negative impact on your staff. But we should be thankful that we're not seeing any plan design changes, people will not experience any difference in their plan experience, for things that they expect to be covered.
Is staff being warned ahead of time that this is the potential that will happen?
Well, they're about to be. This was kind of one of the first things. Honestly, this 19.96 was a little shocking. We just have, comparably to other employers, our high cost meds are high. We have a higher percentage of people on high cost meds than the average. And so unfortunately.
How much does the insurance cover on those meds?
So we're self-insured, so
Right.
so we don't just pay what you saw as the premium. When somebody goes to the doctor, we get that bill. So we pay every bill that every person has. So now we do have some stop loss insurance and things like that, but when you see a med for $200,000, we're paying $200,000. So no, they have a deductible that's maybe $8,000.
Well, there's a negotiated discount too,
Well,
right?
that's after
I mean,
everything.
I know when
That's-
I'm prescribed a medication, so it's self-insured, I have to wrap my head around it. I end up, I was prescribed something high cost, $10 grand or something, and my fee would be $1,000, I'm just throwing out numbers,
So
so.
once you get your deductible in the air, then you're
Yeah,
done.
gotcha.
And these
Yep.
things are still on our books, coming in at $200,000 or $300,000 for the person after the negotiations, after all the stuff UMR and United has done, and after they've paid their
Yeah.
deductible. They are that high cost
Right.
of a med. And so unfortunately, when our consultants come to us and they have hundreds and hundreds of players that they show us the comparables, we just unfortunately have a higher percentage of people on these meds. And, I used to think, when I was 25 versus 45, I should have been cheaper at 25 than I am at 45 because you need more healthcare. Our top 10 highest claimants, most of them are dependents 26 and under on high cost meds. And all of our top 10 are meds. Nothing is medical in our top 10 claims. So
There's a trickle effect, because stop loss insurance is also something you have to negotiate. And when stop loss kicks in, just like car insurance, the more you use it,
the higher your premiums
the
going.
higher your premium's gonna be down the road.
Which we took
Our stop loss
into.
premium literally hit the max increase that you could have, which is 50%.
Yes.
Because we have so many hitting that number, that the insurance company has to protect themselves. So they're like, well, you're expensive, we need to increase your premiums by as much as we can, 50%.
So we took a real hit there. I mean, obviously not as much as 19.96% on the RX side of things, but yes, we become less desirable to insure if anybody's interested in giving us a better bid. So
This is our new hurdle.
I'm thankful that we're able to kind of help out with that, split the cost this year and give people time to prepare for what is coming, because this is just a reality I'm sure we'll see happening in all areas.
I mean, I think for employees, I mean, I know it's hard anytime you have an increase to anything, because obviously our costs are going up in healthcare, but costs go up every year for everything. And so we understand that difficulty. However, I would say we're still offering a really excellent plan, and we're offering a really great benefit in nice healthcare as well. And when you think about, you know, $3,000 a year for family coverage, that is still a really amazing price. There are a lot of people on the free market that are paying $3,000 a month, you know, for their healthcare costs. And so obviously we're so thankful that we are still able to offer this amazing plan with the top doctors and facilities in the state of Wisconsin at what is still a very reasonable price when you take it comparatively of what healthcare costs. And that we still are able to ease any burden we can whenever we can for our employees. And obviously FY26, you know, we're not projecting it to, you know, be zero, obviously, but we are going to be working as a team of HR and finance to do anything we can to help mitigate any passed on costs.
I do agree with sharing that burden, and I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to the 26th. Yeah, it's real. Anybody else have any?
I just applaud you, and again, trying to find a creative solution to another surprise. So is that it for the October surprises?
Health insurance and equalized property values are, that's
Right.
it.
Thank God, October's almost over. No more October surprises, you have like 3 days, Caitlin.
I have no more.
All right, let's move to the early retirement option.
You think this is great news?
Yes.
So we're excited about this possibility.
Sorry, it's a share table.
I'm like, I can talk to you.
Go for it.
If you're really
No, go for it.
disorganized.
Go
No,
for it.
you did the work. You did the work.
So we are
I went on
excited.
vacation and you did the work. Thank you very much.
We're excited to bring forward this early retirement option. So we are looking for a way to honor our staff members who have been here for so many years. Many whom have dedicated their entire careers to the Menomonee Falls School District. Many who started actually at a very young age and meet our 20 years of service criteria, but maybe not necessarily the age that they might have to work longer to gain a number of more years of service just to reach the age criteria. Our current criteria is based on employee group for retirement, and in either they must reach either age 57 and 20 years of service, or age 62 and 20 years of service. So the employee groups are listed there, who is each who is in which criteria, and there's also an attachment that outlines that in a nice chart form as well. The recommendation is to bring down that age from 57 or 62 to age 55 and 20 years of service. And ultimately, anybody who's eligible would have to meet those two criteria by either August 31st, 2025, 2026, or 2027 to be eligible to retire. I said too many things today. To be eligible to retire within that. The notice of retirement that's due to human resources is not changing, so that varies by employee group. There's a little chart on the bottom as well. Teachers and administrators must provide notice to human resources by February 28th each year. And the other employee groups vary, and they're either 60 days prior to retirement or April 1st of the retirement year. The notes on board docs outline very specifically who, by which year, not who as in names, but by which year do you have to achieve 20 years of service and age 55 in order to be eligible. As an additional way to honor employees, particularly those who are already eligible and those who could be eligible to retire at the end of the current school year, the district is proposing an additional $5,000 contribution, so an additional incentive or bonus, if you will, to, as a contribution to the individual's 403B retirement account. This would be a one-time contribution that would happen on the same date as the first payment. It would be in addition to the regular benefit payment schedule. So again, that varies by employee group. I'll pull up the attachment that shows the new criteria of age 55 and 20 that's being proposed. The monthly benefit and this is by employee group, so you can see the monthly benefit and the number of months that benefit is given and the total max benefit based on employee group. So this would be for those eligible within the first year, so by the end of the 24-25 school year, a $5,000 contribution on top of this amount that would be provided with the very first benefit contribution.
So I had a question.
Questions?
You had said that this was an offer for 3 years.
Oh.
Was there like a method that, so 3 years, why not 2 or 4?
Yeah, so,
yep.
What was that?
You know, it's always weird in the public sector that you have money, but you can't just use your money maybe how you wanna use your money. So, for those of you that have been here for the last few years, I think it was August of 2021, we ended our OPEB liability where we had fully paid for all of the retiree benefits for people who were still under contracts, you know, back in the day. Our last benefit was in 2011 that was offered for 10 years, it ended in 2021. We still had about, I don't know, $2.7 million left in there. You can only use that money for post-retiree benefits. So we can't put it over in the healthcare where that would have been, you know, maybe a nice little buffer. We can only use it for post-retiree benefits. As a group, superintendent, HR, finance, and you know, the rest of the directors when we bring it to the table. There are other things besides early retirement you can do with this money. Early retirement is kind of one of those nice things you can implement and act on more quickly. And so the 3 years, so early retirement is usually a window, you don't do it forever, so it's a window. 3 years just provides us the opportunity to kind of see how it goes over those 3 years. Use some of these funds in a managed way. We don't wanna use all of the funds because we do wanna have other thoughts and conversations that might have a few more legal hurdles or other, you know, groups that we need to work with to implement. But 3 years is kind of a natural window when you open something up. We always have the ability to see if it worked for us, if we liked it, we could always expand it. But usually it does have, you know, a 3 to 5 year max when you're opening up a window for something special like this. And I think in the last meeting, David mentioned, you know, that the additional $5,000 for 24-25, you know, we can always look at that every year. This is a window that we're opening and creating and can bring to the board every year with changes if we feel that fiscally we wanna keep doing it. But we do have the most amount of people actually already eligible, and then the next largest group becoming eligible in 24-25. So depending on who takes advantage, we should have a good fiscal idea of our expenditures and still leaving ourselves room to explore other options beyond just people who are currently retiring and how we can also utilize retiree benefits for more staff.
Yeah, we've been talking since the annual meeting, actually since a little bit before, quite a bit before, actually, even into last year, about these Fund 73 dollars, that is 2.7 million. It can't be used for anything else. So we're not taking money from teacher salaries or student items or operations or anything else like that. It can only be used for post-retirement benefits. So we've been talking about developing a plan for the use of these dollars. This is using a portion of the dollars so that we can see how it goes, but also start planning for some other things that we've been talking about. that aren't quite ready for a committee meeting, but might be ready in the near future about possible changes and other changes and enhancements. But they're only gonna be positives for our staff. Because at the end of the day, what we're talking about with this 2.7 million of Fund 73, it is a good problem to have because we need to be able to, the money is gonna go back to our staff in post-retirement funds. But the structure and the design and the plan is really what we're talking about. We're certain about this. This fits in that criteria. We're positive about this, A, from the financial perspective, but also B, from, this is the first step, but there's more to do with, it's obviously a good amount of dollars there for us to
Is
be
there a
working.
timeline for us to spend that? Or no?
No, actually, in a lot of districts in the state, there was a point when well over 70% of the school districts in the state were negative Fund 73. There's actually many examples of districts that struggle in this regard. And so it's a very good situation to be in, but I know for certain from experience that starting with this group, it's important. It's important because let's say that we go through a massive plan design, which is gonna take months and months and months. Because I've been through these sorts of things and I know Leah has as well, that it's gonna take, you might miss this group. It might not be ready till July or August. You know, because you have outside people you have to bring in and companies and there's laws to, we know we can do this. And I think starting with this group and making sure that we're not missing this group is an important first step with what we talked about in our strategic plan, specifically about Fund 73, but also looking at teachers and staff that have over 20 years and they're 55. I mean, that's a lot of years of commitment to our district, so that's something that we are recommending.
And I think you've seen our like opening day presentations. A lot of these people are at 25, 30, 35 years. You know, they literally started here out of college and they're well past, you know, that 20-year mark. And as we said in the last meeting, 63 teachers in 3 years. I mean, if they, once again, people are retiring later and later because of their own financial needs and, you know, kids in college and, you know, just your own planning and whatnot and how expensive life gets every year that you go out. So 86 people will not be retiring in the 3-year window. But even if 63 teachers did retire over 3 years, let's say, and I knocked on wood and I'll do it again, we have extreme success in hiring folks based on retirements. Because we post like March 1st practically, because they give us notice by February 28th. And we have successfully filled our retirement vacancies before the school year even ends. It's the people who leave in June, July, and August that are our stressors, that make it hard to hire. But with retirees leaving, like, yes, it might create a little bit more recruitment, a little bit more hiring, but it's literally at the best time to be recruiting people during the best window for that recruitment. And, you know, when people are ready to retire, they're ready to retire. And if they're making that choice, it's good for them and it's good for us, and bringing new people in while there is a little adjustment period and getting them trained and ready in the school district of Menomonee Falls. New people bring new ideas and new energy and things, and so we always, while we're sad to see people go, I also get energized every year at new hire orientation and the new teacher week of all the energy and excitement that comes in. So I don't really look at it as a negative when people choose to retire, and then we bring on, you know, new folks who are excited to join our team.
Was it $5,000 just an incentive? You just.
I think it's an incentive, but it's also realizing that you're creating, for some people, a different window than what they were working on. So you have a little bit different window. I mean, you can, so let's say that you're 55 and now you're gonna do it, but your financial planner and everything, your window was 57. You see what it, so putting the dollars in goes, okay, you can start the dollars right away at 55 because that's what we're recommending. But that $5,000 piece, if properly invested and it could give you some bounce toward the end of our commitment of the months listed depending on employee group. So that's the thought about that, it's an incentive, but it's also acknowledging that we're not increasing, the dollars in this plan other than the $5,000 saying, okay, cause people work on their financial plans for years and years and years. So if they come in and all of a sudden they're 55 and they're 2 years ahead and I wanna do this, this is great. Well, we wanna recognize that and honor that, but also understand that there's a financial side to that. If properly invested, and that would be theirs to do however they choose to do in a 403B.
So they opened up a 403B with the district, and so we partner with Leah Benefits or with RCA. So they do have to open up one of the two 403B providers that we work with. Quite honestly, after that, you can do all kinds of things with your money once you put it in there, however you want to, but you do have to have one of the two 403B providers that we work with. Because quite honestly, if everybody picked their own, we would have an administration nightmare of doing this work, but it goes into a 403B account. And so that's why this is the legally easiest option, is because this is like the most traditional post-employee benefit option that there is. Other things that you look into might not be as traditional, so they require other legal hurdles and checkpoints, but this is the absolute definition of a post-retirement benefit that you could give.
We also talked through the numbers that I was just before this meeting. The maximum amount of dollars this would cost Fund 73, based on the criteria that we laid out here, is $360,000. So that's $5,000 for everybody who's already eligible and anybody additionally who's eligible at the end of the 24-25 school year. So that's $360,000 for if every one of those people retired at the end of the 24-25 school year.
I would call
I think
it,
it's an exciting opportunity.
I would call it step one of a multi-step approach, meaning 2.7 million. We gotta work on that, but that's gonna take some time. If it's gonna redesign this whole thing, I'm not suggesting that's what it's gonna do, but that's one of the thoughts, is to dig into the design itself. There's other things as well that you can do, but
But it has to go back to other post-employment benefits, OPEB.
yes.
Dollars are in Fund 73 and they have to stay there for post-employment benefits.
The only concern I have, which Leah already touched on a little bit, was that teacher shortage and bringing new staff on. You thought of that piece here, giving that deadline, giving us that window to
We-
the new hires.
We hit
ready
that
to
pretty
go,
hard, cause
so-
when we did the math, there's 315 teachers. And so
Okay.
seeing that number over 3 years was roughly 20%.
Right.
And so I said, teachers are becoming challenging to refill roles, but given the timing, Leah said not having yet signed a contract, it is very appealing.
Yep.
And so she doesn't have any concerns, so.
My concern is more really not so much as the teachers and admins, it's more the EAs and school nutrition, et cetera, because we've kind of decreased that age, eligibility drastically from 62 to 55 for them. Those are the people that I'm more concerned about, us trying to fill those positions, because I know in the past year, we've had challenges with, Nikki's always said she's looking for people, our EAs in particular. So how is that going to affect us?
Yeah, so school nutrition isn't benefit eligible, so they're not on here. EAs, I'll admit, if they're special ed EAs, I don't actually know who they are. I think there's a spreadsheet, but I didn't.
There's 10.
I agree with honoring the people who have dedicated their years here and giving them that, I think it's great. But I also wanna make sure that we are not going to shoot ourselves in the foot in regards to offering that, and then we have a huge output of those positions that we can't fill.
Yeah, special ed EAs are a little bit more worrisome. I'd say the number is still on the small enough side that it's not overly concerning. Regular ed EAs, that I'm actually not concerned about.
So that's the only thing that I wanted to kind of make sure that we.
Yes, we covered that in committee.
Yeah, I definitely think, if you see on the sheet that was up there, the EA benefit is already so low. I mean, I think that extra 5 is, I would say the extra 5 is an actual incentive for them. It's maybe a little less for a teacher, as I mentioned in the last meeting. WRS is 57.5 for your benefit, your 30 years and 57.5 is like a magic number to get your best benefits. So, a lot of people are still, while 55 might look great, I'm like, oh, that'd be so great to retire. The other components that make up a large chunk of their retirement are actually not coming until later. And while $5,000 is a lot of money, they are getting 75. But when you're getting like 3, then the 5 is a little bit more exciting. So, well, I just can tell by looking at it, they're not all special ed, so I'm a little less concerned.
But it is for 3 years.
But yeah.
So our total teacher, I'll go employee group by employee group, the number of people who are eligible. And I'm going to say these are approximately the number of people because what our department does when somebody requests to notice or just requests a review of their years of service, HR goes through diligently year by year because there are it's years of service in a benefit eligible position. So while somebody may have been a substitute back in the day before we were with Teachers on Call, that is not a benefit eligible year. So your group by group teachers, and this is over the 3 years. So either they're already eligible or at the end of the 24-25 year, 25-26 or 26-27. Teachers make up 63 of the 86 total employees eligible. EAs are 10 of those 86 people, professional technical 1, admin assistants 3, and custodial maintenance 9. The majority of people are already benefit eligible. Already retirement eligible. 58 of the 86 are actually could have already retired before this year.
Prior to the change.
How does our custodial team feel about this? It's a pretty big number for a
Yeah, I
small
think
team.
again, it'll be a challenge. I think EAs and custodians might have the hardest time recruiting.
And just a lot of
Yeah.
knowledge
Mhm.
amassed.
So the goal when somebody retires, the goal is to have an overlap time in a role like that where they can pass on some of that knowledge. It doesn't just leave with the employee, so that's the idea.
And we have had that in custodial.
Anybody else?
I mean, the people in custodial are well past the 55 age. I'm just saying, these people, the 55 didn't do anything for them. Yeah. That first row, they could have been at the 57 or the 62 and still been eligible.
Okay, can we move to action items? All right, first is, I need a motion for the 2024-25 final budget approval and tax levy resolution as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Can I have a second? Any other comments, concerns, or questions at all?
Thanks for all your hard work.
Yes, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is passed. Next, I need a motion to approve the health insurance renewal for the 10% employee premium
I'll make a
increase
motion.
of the 2025. That's recommended.
I'll motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any last minute comments?
I just think it's nice that we're able to at least ease into that. For the creativity there as well. And
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next is early retirement. I need a motion to approve the early retirement option as presented.
I'll motion.
Second.
Last minute comments? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Great. And last but not least, I need a motion to approve the application for the new pickleball sports club as presented.
I have to motion for that. My children are all very excited about the new pickleball club, so.
Do I have a second? I'll second.
I didn't know that.
Anyone else with a comment? Well, she had her comments.
I think Jennifer could have answered all the questions that
Way to
came
go,
up.
Jen.
She looked ready to jump
Utilize
in.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, next. Voucher table.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve vouchers payable through October 24th, 2024, in the amount of $239,035.79.
I'll second.
Anyone have any comments?
I'll just comment that the number seems probably larger than usual because you brought over vouchers from our last meeting with Becky.
Also, there is like $561,000 being paid on the North Middle School chiller, which is obviously out of the norm.
Yep, we started October 1st, the refit, the pull-out. That work will continue until the testing in the spring.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Very good. Next, go through the consent agenda items. Does everybody have a chance to read them? Any questions, discussion? So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items, and I think board member grants, you can choose to abstain if you want.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. And future agenda items.
Yeah, I actually have two. First one I seen, Hamilton has already, a couple weeks ago, posted their forward test score results. Just wondering, is that one thing we're gonna cover soon?
Yep, we are gonna be getting that in November, I believe.
November or
Early December.
December when the school report cards are public.
Right.
So somewhere in that window.
So in the next, before Christmas.
Yeah.
Before Christmas.
And then, there's been kind of talks and rumblings about a possible feasibility of a field house.
Yeah, there's been some conversations at some internal committees, and we've made some outreach actually to FEMA. So there were some articles out there, and thank you, Caitlin, for that. It was, we learned a lot, and actually we're encouraged about application processes that we'll jump into next year. But we found some districts in the state, one in particular, that used a FEMA grant in order to help spur this sort of project. So we've had some detailed information about that. When there was when the building of the great gym occurred and that whole piece, there was an idea already for a field house on the other side of the great gym, right? That is true. We've checked with the architects, I have the documents. There was an idea for an extension of a field house. So it is an idea out there, we're working on it, but it would, there's some other things in the background the business department is working on, by the end of the year, a sponsorship program that is often done in other districts where businesses in the community can do name sponsorships and looking at other ways to look at funds to help spur that type of add-on, which I think would be very good. I've talked internally to some staff about it, they are very excited about the possibility. It's good for the academic side, music can be in there, PE classes can be in there. But also when weather is poor, during spring sports or that sort of thing, it could also be a community ed and rec add-on. So a lot of other districts have these sorts of items. So it is something we're looking at.
Okay.
I don't think it's imminent, meaning in this budget, clearly not. We're balanced the way that we are and we're excited about being balanced and the second lowest mill rate in over 30 years. So we're excited about that. We're not gonna endanger any of that, but it is something that we are looking into and doing some initial forays into, has some detail. We'll make sure to bring that to committee when it's ready. Thank you.
Anybody else?